Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Um, how you doing, Josh? It's been a little while.
What year is this?
I know, right?
And
Has it
where
been
are
that long?
you? And where's all my equipment?
Has it been that long?
It's been that long, and I think that much has changed since we've last done the podcast. Your equipment is in a different place. Mine's in a different place for good reason, but so we're interesting little makeshift studios we have tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm mobile, so yeah, I'm on in a totally different location.
Yeah, I'm using a mobile setup as well. So, but you know what? It'll get the job done for now because when we come back, we'll have eventually we'll have both of our studios set up. So
Yeah,
it's always good to
I
take a step back, a few forward.
yeah, I don't even know where my studio will be because yeah, I don't know where I'll permanently be. It might be a few months. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to tell the audience it's your surprise about you moving to Wisconsin or Phoenix, Arizona,
Right?
or Kansas City, Missouri, wherever you're going.
Yeah. Right now I'm just in a different city, different location. So if you guys hear a box or a clock in the background, that clock is actually from the Whaley House.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
That's very suitable for the show.
No.
I thought it was a children's toy at first, but no, that it is a
No,
clock.
it's
Yeah,
it's an actual clock from the Whaley House.
that's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a new touring company in there. So the original got a lot of stuff out, and yeah, so
Right.
it's kind of cool.
Well, very good. Well, I'm excited about tonight, and I'm going to give you the privilege of doing the introduction, as most of the circuits in our guest's device were designed by you. So I will turn it over to you, sir.
All right, so we're going to continue on with the ITC community. We're going to have a special guest tonight.
A very special
Um,
guest.
yep. It's actually a continuation from our last guest, who was Ron Yakovitti. So we're going to have one of our colleagues on, Tony Rathman, who's a fellow investigator and ITC researcher. So yeah, it's good to have bring Tony on the show. And
It's an honor to have him on. Absolutely.
so let's go ahead and bring Tony on now. Hey, Tony, how's it going?
It's going great, guys. How you doing?
Doing great.
Doing well. Thank you for joining us. It's truly an
Thank
honor.
you, Josh.
So, Tony, tell a little bit about yourself to our audience. So, those of some of our audience members might not know who you are, and
Sure.
so yeah, just give a little intro and what you've
Be
been up
happy
to.
to. Um, about, well, a little over 11 years. I think as of February 2022, it'll be 12 years. But 11 and a half years ago, I was a complete skeptic. I didn't believe in anything paranormal. And then I noticed when the shows started coming out that my wife had an interest and she was watching them, and she kept saying to me, "You got to come and watch this. This is amazing." So I sat down with her and I lasted about 3 minutes and said, "No, this isn't real. This is television. This is for entertainment only. I don't believe it." And I'd walk away. Well, she kept trying to get me to come back and watch, and I just couldn't. I didn't believe any of it. When I grew up, my father was a physics, chemistry, and physical science instructor. And so everything I asked as a kid always had a scientific answer. And so that was just kind of how I was brought up. And paranormal didn't really play a role in any of it. So I didn't have any experiences. And, now that I think back, maybe I did, but I dismissed them because it didn't seem to have any reasonable or logical explanation. But anyway, so she says, every Valentine's Day, we would go hang out at the resort, hang by the pool, have some drinks, enjoy the weekend. And she comes up to me and she says, I want to do something different this year. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She says, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Well, it was a simple decision, because I could either take her or I could have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day. So I figured it'd probably be better if I take her. So we went, bought her some cheap equipment, digital recorder, EMF meter, night vision video camera. And we went. So I played along, acted like, I was having as much fun as she was, but she was having fun, and that was all that mattered. Mm-hmm. But it's when she got this stuff home and she started going through it, the photographs, the videos, the audio recordings, I was blown away. Every couple of minutes, she'd come here, look at this. What is that? Things in the photos that weren't there when we took them. Mm-hmm. Voices on the audio where we called out for somebody and they answered. We were one of 3 guests in the entire hotel, 7 floors, 312 rooms, big place. And they were all asleep by 10:30, 11, and we were up till 2:33 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And all this evidence. And I kept saying to her, okay, I don't understand. For months, I tried to figure it out. Tried to find reasonable and rational explanations for it and couldn't. Right. So finally I said, okay, if I can't explain it, let's go back and try it again. It happens. So we did, and we got more and more. And I think we investigated that place over 50 times, but it just kept growing. And that's how it all started for us. And then obviously we branched out to other historic locations, other places that were known to be haunted. We started researching everything under the sun in the state of Arizona. Then, of course, we moved out of the state of Arizona, went to Nevada, went to California, went to Colorado, went to New Mexico, went to Ohio, and then we started branching out. We just got back from the tri-state area. We did a 4-mansion tour with our teammates, which was absolutely fantastic. But then we did international as well. We've been to Japan. We've investigated places in the Philippines, and it just never quits. So we just keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's how it is. It's like it becomes an addiction, and then you just want to get going everywhere. I mean, everywhere that you get to go to, you take your equipment with you, or even a camera and a recorder. That's, and because that's the bare minimums of what you would need, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I got to go to Edinburgh for that was my childhood dream place to go, to Edinburgh. And I mean, I got to be there for a week, and I would go to work before work, because our work schedule, because of the time difference, we would start at 11. So I'd get up at 6, go on adventures till like 10, from 6 to 10 in the morning, and then repeat at night, and then stay up until like 3 in the morning. So I was only I was like, I can sleep when I get back home. So I was getting 3 hours sleep a night.
Exactly.
And it was the most incredible experience.
You just live off of Red Bull, right? That's what you did for a week. Yeah.
But they're in Edinburgh, they have their own energy drink. It's almost like Nas here, but it's an orange flavored drink. But anyway, it's so good. I think it's called Kronk or Crunch or something. It's some weird energy drink, but anyway, and you can only find it there.
We lived on Red Bull during the 4. We did 4-mansion in 4 days, and by our plane didn't land till midnight. We didn't get to bed even before the first investigation till 4 a.m. Then we got up at like 8, drove to the location, set up. We investigated till like 5 in the morning. Went back, slept for maybe 2 or 3 hours, got up, and then went to the next one. And that happened 4 times. We're on 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. It's crazy.
So
That's
when you
physical pain right there. Yeah.
and when you guys were
So,
doing that, you like between locations, you guys were going live
right.
on the car ride, right?
Yep.
I
We went.
remember watching some of those and
We
just
That's
went.
looking
awesome.
at you
That's
guys. You
awesome.
guys were like, "Oh my god, we're on to the next one," and you guys just look exhausted. But you can tell the adrenaline rush was just like keeping you guys going. That
Right.
was
That's
amazing.
exactly what was keeping us going. If it wasn't for that, my wife fell asleep in Selma Mansion, and she was walking down the stairs, and we actually
Oh.
we did an episode for each one. I just have White Hill left to finish, but she's talking about all the things she's going to do next, and then I come down 3-4 minutes later, and she's asleep on 2 kitchen chairs pushed together, and she actually fit between it like a bed. She was out.
Oh. Right. If you can
That's
sleep in that
amazing.
situation on those chairs, you know you're tired.
You
Yeah,
know you're
that's
tired, right?
that's last resort.
So you guys
Wow.
editing those videos now?
How's
Yeah,
that
we
going?
have 3 done. 3 of them are already done and out. They're on our Facebook. They're on our YouTube.
Right.
The first one was Kingsland Manor, then Kreischer Mansion, then Selma Mansion, and I still have White Hill Mansion left to put together.
Awesome. And where can they find them? What's your website or your Facebook page?
They can find them on either Tony Rathman's my Facebook page, or if you go to YouTube under Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, 3 out of the 4 are already there.
Okay, perfect. So I know that you and I have investigated with you. You invited me out to Arizona to the Phillips Dodge Hospital,
Yep.
which is an amazing location. So if you guys are ever in Arizona, look up Tony. And I know that you do take people there, right? And for private
Well, here,
investigations.
I don't think you've heard this, but the hospital got bought. It is gone. It was
Oh,
bought by a hotel development company, and they are
of course.
going to remodel it into a hotel. So
Of course.
Oh my
we no
gosh.
longer have it.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even
Wow.
know that.
Yeah, we lost it about 3.5, 4 months ago. The sale
Oh my
went
God.
through, and it's gone. And we tried so hard to get them to let the investigations continue, because
Right.
the stuff we've pulled out of that place, including one of the last things we caught was this shadow figure, this 3-dimensional shadow figure walking down the hall right towards the camera. That was the last thing we ever captured, because there was one last investigation that happened with Longhorn Paranormal, and then the next day we heard that the sale went through and it was gone.
Oh my God. And I remember
Wow.
seeing that footage of the shadow person walking down the hallway. Now, was that on the first floor or the second floor?
That was second floor,
Okay.
which made it even more unexplainable, because a lot of people will see the video and they'll see the sunlight. It was like 10 to 6 in the morning,
Right.
and the night vision cameras had gone from night vision to regular
Right.
vision, because the light's coming through the big pane window in the operating room, and you can
Right.
see the light filter out into the hallway.
Right.
But that's the second story. So unless somebody's 15, 18 feet tall, their shadow's never going to come through the second floor window to the hallway. It's just not
Right.
going to happen.
And that's why I asked if that was on the first floor or the second floor. Me knowing how the hospital's laid out, because that's coming from the west, and you have to remember the sun's rising to the east of, and the hotel or the hospital runs east to west, so the
Okay.
sun would have been on the opposite side of the building.
Correct.
And yeah, so for me to know the layout and where the shadow figure was seen, that was pretty phenomenal.
It was. We still cannot explain it at all, but it was almost like it knew we weren't going to get a chance to get back in there again, and finally said, after us chasing it for 4 years, "Here I am," and it was awesome.
And the funny thing is,
Wow.
there's so much. There was so much when we were there, and even towards the end of the night, because you guys were at the other end where the nursing station was doing EVPs, and me and a friend of mine were on the opposite end, and we were hearing kids running around upstairs, but you guys were all the way on the other side. So we kind of met up with you guys. And
Right.
then I think we said, hey, we were hearing kids. Did you guys hear that? And you guys are like, no, we're out here doing, because you guys were by the nurses station doing EVPs. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it still bothers us every day that it's gone.
No,
Um,
I,
but for anybody who is interested, there is a Destination Fear episode coming up November 20th where they were actually there. So I can't wait to see what they encountered. There's a little statement that came from one of the team members, I think, or maybe it was from Travel Channel, but it basically says that they got some sort of ghostly EVP death threat. So
hmm,
can't wait to hear that.
yeah.
Right.
And I know Ghost Adventures was there at the hospital.
Yep.
Um, who else investigated there? There was a lot of private teams I know, but
Yeah, we probably had, oh man, 300-400 private teams
yeah.
that have been through there. There's all sorts of names. I mean, Rick McCollum did a live Haunted and Alone, although he wasn't really alone. My son kind of investigated with him, but
Alone plus one.
he did a really good job investigating. Both of them did, and it came out well. They great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really sad. I mean, there's been so many locations that have shut down. I was part of one also where, and it's kind of it's emotional. And now that even with the Whaley House, it's taken,
Right.
has changed, and
Right.
people that did work there are having a hard time with that because you become emotionally attached,
Right.
um,
Right.
and you start missing it.
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and the bond that you have with spirit there, people don't realize it becomes very emotional. And I just imagine how you feel, how they must feel with you not being around anymore.
Right.
Because sometimes you might even hear, I don't know if this happened to you, Tony, but walking down the hall, sometimes you hear somebody calling your name in a whisper, um, and things like that. So it's like, wait a minute, what? These people
Right.
actually, I mean, these spirits actually know me by name.
Yep. Had that happen many times. In fact, probably about 2 years, 2 or 3 years into investigating, we started realizing they were calling us by name. And I owe that to my wife because she would always stop me. I'd go in, I'd just start asking questions, and she'd say, no, no, no. Tell them who we are. Tell them why we're here. So I followed along with her request and did that. Well, then after about 2 years of investigating, we noticed we'd walk into a location we had never stepped foot in before. And they'd be like, hey, Tony, hi, Cherie, hey, the Rathmans. We're like, wow.
Yeah, it's funny.
Right.
And it does happen. I mean, people don't believe it, but it's like you start doing EVPs, and then you get your name called a lot,
Yep.
Right.
and it's just crazy, and it's actually flattering that that does happen.
It is. Plus, it's additional information to understand that when dealing with an intelligent haunting, that you're dealing with a consciousness. I mean, they think, they answer questions. It's just a non-bodied entity or consciousness, and it's got all the abilities it had prior, and even more with some of the things we've seen it can do. But it's
Right.
fascinating.
And
Yeah. It is.
here's the funny thing, because a lot of people say, well, spirits don't have vocal cords. They can't speak, they can't feel, they can't touch. There's a lot of the things that people say, but yet with us doing more and more investigating, we kind of prove those things to be not true.
You are absolutely correct, and I think the paranormal investigators that are really doing the true research. You're right. You've got to say can't do that. You don't have vocal cords. How are they speaking? For all of that, based on personal experiences and what you've run into.
Mm.
But we're actually leading the foreground to hopefully have science be able to catch up. And they have. I mean,
Right.
science in the last 5 years has done all sorts of research on, what survives death. And science says today consciousness survives death. And you know what? They're right. And we have the proof to show it. But,
Mm-hmm.
100 years ago or 200 years ago, a lunar eclipse was considered paranormal because
Right.
nobody knew what was happening. Science explained it and said, okay, here's what's happening. So that's not considered paranormal anymore. And I
Right.
think eventually some of the work that's being done today in the paranormal, science will catch up and go, oh my gosh, yes, here we've proved it. We've tested it. We've retested it. This does happen. And then every paranormal investigator out there is going to go, yeah, we knew that.
That's what we've been saying all along.
Right. Right.
Right.
But you're right. Skeptics say, well, they can't talk. They don't have vocal cords. Well, okay. Then how is the voice being left on a recorder or even through a spirit box, an ITC device? Well, you can break that down to so many different levels just based on the experiences that we've had alone. They are not hearing me from my vocal transmission. How do I know that? Well, one, when I'm asking a question into a digital recorder and I get the answer before I even finish the sentence.
Right.
So the sentence wasn't even complete for them to know what I was asking,
Right.
yet the answer shows up on the recorder. Well, how do they do that? Well, it's got to be some sort of mental energy, some electromagnetic frequency, something the brain's giving off,
Mm-hmm.
some type of energy. If spirits are pure energy, then they can do that. How? I'm not broadcasting my voice over a mic, or I'm just speaking at a regular tone of voice in my house or a haunted location, and they're responding. So
Right.
they're picking that up through another means. And the voice is coming back either through a spirit box or a digital recorder at that same electromagnetic frequency level.
Mm-hmm.
And we've even taken recorders with damaged mics, and the
Yeah.
EVP still shows up. So the mic is irrelevant
Yeah.
to the digital recorder recording that message.
Yeah. Now, there's been experiments. I mean, in the past, back in the early '80s, I think even yeah, where there's been a sealed audio tape, just a cassette tape. It was set on a table. They did an EVP session. They opened up that tape, put it in a recorder, hit play, and responses were on that tape.
Wow, that
Yeah.
experiment I was not aware of, but I'm going to have
Yeah.
to go look that up
Yeah.
because that shows you that it was put onto the tape through a different method, not even relevant to the recorder. And
Right.
there you have it.
So yeah, if you
Yeah.
start looking up early ITC research, because I mean ITC research has been going on for years, and it became really, I guess, more popular, in the '60s, '70s, early '80s with magnetic, different types of magnetic media, uh, whether it was reel to reel, whether it was cassette recorders. I remember when I first started investigating. Um, this was many years ago. And now I'm going to date myself.
Many years ago.
I used to carry around a cassette recorder, and it had an external mic. Um, then when somebody, one day, one of the investigators that I used to go out with or go investigating with, um, he brought a um, a micro cassette recorder, and we're like, "Holy crap! Look how small that thing is!" And and
Right.
we're just like fascinated because one of our other investigators, a lot of these people are parapsychologists in the field, that they're well known in the field. So I got to go investigate with them.
I
So
got one right here.
yeah, so and then
Little
one of
Sonny.
them used to bring a big reel to reel. and he would hang mics from the ceiling, things like that, and it was just I was just fascinated by what we would capture using those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that if you go back as far as the first recording device, which was a single wire recorder,
Yeah.
and there were some Tibetan monks who were doing Gregorian
Very
chants,
good. Very good.
and they got voices, and it freaked them out because, of course, this was the old Roman Catholic. They weren't supposed to talk with
Right.
spirits, and they freaked out because they had these voices that weren't in the room, didn't know where they came from. And then it went all the way up to the Pope, and the Pope said, well, you're okay because it's the machine that caught the voice, not you guys. It wasn't you speaking, you're fine. So from a religious standpoint, they dismissed it. But every recording device after that, analog tape, reel-to-reel tape, there was even one that was like a record player that you cranked, and then it spun and recorded to it. Every one of them has captured EVPs. You had, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the bird guy who was out recording bird sounds at like 2 a.m. out in the forest. And he had voices.
That was Radev.
Yes.
Yeah.
Konstantin Radova, yeah.
Konstantin.
And then you had, just example after example. And this has been going on since recording devices have been around. But yet, there's been no further movement as far as anything else about them. We know they happen. We know they're common knowledge. We know they can be captured. But what else do we know? And that's the part that kills us. And that's why we focused on EVP and ITC, because for us, there's nothing better. If you get an EVP message, you ask a question, you go back, you play the recorder, and there's something there. Before I even listen to what they said, I can tell if they're adult or child. I can tell if they're male or female. I can tell what language they're speaking. I can tell if they have a dialect. I can tell an emotional state. Are they angry? Are they sad? Are they emotionally distraught? Before I even heard what they said, just by listening to tone of voice. So to us, that evidence just far outweighs any of the other devices out there. And that's why we focus so heavily on EVP and ITC, because the range of information you can get from those answers is much greater than any of the others.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the equipment that you use.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we use just about everything. We've got FLIR, night vision cameras, full spectrum cameras, laser grids, multi-track recorders, parabolic mics, every type of digital recorder you can imagine. We've got EM pumps. We've got, I'm going to miss so many things. You name it, we have it. The only thing we don't use on a regular basis is some of the newer stuff that's come out that to us kind of seems just centralized by TV, and the real impact of it I'm very iffy of. But and then of course we started building spirit boxes about 8 years ago, and I think we've built 13 different ones so far. But the most recent one, actually, Rob played a huge impact on, because he sent me a box, and I'm listening to this thing, and I'm going, I like this. This is awesome. I mean, it was silent. And so we tested it and tested it and tested it, and it worked. So then I said to Rob, I'm like, let me buy another one. And then I integrated those circuits into what we call, well, if you look behind me, other way, these two boxes behind me, the bigger one was the original Evox, and then the smaller one has got Rob's circuitry in it, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. But it was just phenomenal how clear it is and how deep of a resonating sound we can get from it. And it's completely silent until they speak. And then we ordered this special monitor from Bulgaria, which will tell us the hertz or megahertz that the the voice is coming in at, so we can determine if there is any type of typical range. We know for a fact that they're all over the boards, but somewhere between 100 and 300 megahertz is normally a safe range to have them come in at. Now we've got them higher and we've got them lower, but it works phenomenal. And we actually took the original box that you built, Rob. We took it out to the tri-state area for the 4-mansion tour. That thing was spitting out answers. It called out every one of our names: myself, Cherie, Ron, Lourdes, Bill from KGRA, the psychic housewife from New Jersey. April was there. Every one of us in a matter of about 30 seconds. It was unbelievable.
Wow. That's crazy. No, and it was funny how, when he said, Rob, I need you to, build something. And I was like, oh, Tony, really? Because I was like, how are you going to take my, because I had to plan it out. Like,
Sure.
Okay, so, and then label everything so you could just run it to, because I didn't know how you're going to do.
Yeah, you did a great job. I had no trouble at all figuring out exactly what was there and to be able to hook it to everything else that we put in. It worked fantastic. And like I said, I wish you could hear it. For anyone of your audience that wants to hear it, go to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence YouTube, and there are examples up there of what was captured. And the 3 of the 4-mansion tours, his original box was used for that, and crazy stuff.
Yeah, and Ron was just like, Rob, I have never heard anything like it. He said the responses that were coming through was just like, are you kidding me? Just like, he was just like blown away.
Yeah, it was nuts. I've never seen. Now, we were at some really cool locations. The first one was Kingsland Manor, which was circa 1790, somewhere in that area, I think. And they got older as we went on. The last one was 1723. It was built. But the vocals that we got between Ron's DRV and the different e-boxes was just off the charts. I mean, you'd ask a question and instantly the answer would be there, loud, clear, and just amazing.
Yeah, and see, so, and that's the thing. Like, we're doing a lot more with DRV, and that's basically where my box, Josh actually discovered that feature in my box, and that's when I introduced that to you, was that DRV mode. And it's just, when it works, it's crazy. And yet there's times when you won't get anything, and then there's times that you
just
turn
like
it
anything
on.
else, right?
It's just like anything else. When they want to talk, they're going to talk. When they don't want to
nothing
talk,
that can be
it's like
forced.
nothing. Right. Exactly.
Right.
But
yeah, that's awesome. Ron does a really, really unique setup. He'll take a very high frequency and a low frequency, of which there are no audible transitions in either one. Then he'll heterodyne them together. And then he'll use an AI software to take out the noise. And underneath that static noise, these voices just appear. And they're not a single word or 2 words. They're full sentences.
Tony, I've been very fortunate to be on Ron's list when he sends me these incredible captures. And the last few he sent me, just as you described them, I had my jaw on the floor, and I literally felt my stomach turn, because there were multiple sentences acknowledging the fact, the Shanley Hotel, acknowledging the fact that it was 3 a.m, acknowledging what was going on in the room at the time, and saying how cool this was, what a great experience it was. Full sentences without any breaks.
Was that the one where he was out on the porch smoking a cigar and they said that? Was it that one?
I believe so. Yeah. There's been a few of them, but one of them even acknowledged the time. Exactly, it was 3 a.m. But the responses, with the help of the AI, and Rob and I have talked about how AI can really cut down the time in getting to these voices. And especially Ron has really found a way to make that efficient, that process very efficient. But some of those responses that Ron has captured have just, I mean, I'm still thinking about them, and they give me the chills, just how casual they were. The conversation was so natural.
Correct.
His work just blows my mind. It really does.
He's done some amazing stuff, and getting to experience that firsthand was awesome, because I was familiar with direct radio voice, but hadn't dove into it real deeply. But then getting to watch him set it up and tune it, and then start asking questions, and it's just silent. I mean, not silent. You can hear the static white background.
It's subtle though. It is subtle.
Comes out of nowhere, and it sounds like you've got somebody on speakerphone, and they're answering your question. So it was cool stuff, and I'm sure that's a road we're going to go down farther as well. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm doing some experiments with DRV, and it's going to be cool to opening up some of these experiments and having you, Tony, and Josh, and Ron all participate in this. It's a lot of fun, but it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then I've even done some where I don't even announce I'm going to do a live, test. I just throw it up on YouTube, and then people start watching.
Those are the best. Yeah, spontaneous ones.
And then when people start hearing their names come through, people are asking, because they can't ask a question because they're not there. So they'll ask it, let's say, like telepathically, because there's no way to ask a question, and they get the response that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Or 5 people names like 5 people watching will get their names called out. Like Josh got his name called out. There was
I was on the freeway.
Yeah.
I was on the freeway listening to my cell phone live, and I was thinking I thought in my head, maybe say my name to see if this works, me driving on the freeway and just listening to my cell phone. And sure enough, my name came through.
And then there was another girl named Debbie was watching. Deb's name came through. There was like 5 different people asked, all their names are called out. Right. And people are like, oh, this is fake. Carl's name was called. And people are like, oh, this is fake. Well, how are you going to fake this? How are you going to have all these people tune in and watch and their names get called out? Do you know how elaborate or how big of a production to get all the timing and everybody on at that particular time?
Well,
and
I could tell you
exactly. And the mathematical probability of having those viewers have their names each call. Right. I mean, come on, you're talking to the billions to one, and to have that happen. But that's the concern, though, with doing the ITC work, is there are so many skeptics out there that will say,
of course,
you're picking up walkie-talkies or baby monitors.
Of course.
Okay. Is that a possibility? Yeah, it is a possibility.
It is a possibility.
But the first question I ask him is, okay, well, how many have you used and how long have you tested them? Oh, I don't use those. Those don't work. Well, if you haven't tried it, you don't know it doesn't work. I'm telling you it does. Right. Radio stations are not swearing at me. Radio stations are not calling out Tony Rathman, unless I am more popular than I thought, but I'm not. And they're not speaking in Tagalog in Phoenix, Arizona, which my wife speaks, and we'll get messages in Tagalog. There isn't a Tagalog radio station in, I don't even know how far, but we're not picking it up here in Phoenix.
Yeah. You know what? There's not even one in the LA area. So
I didn't know if there was.
No.
But we wouldn't be able to pick it up here.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's all Spanish.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, there's no way you'd pick it up from there.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And I can throw out example after example about how I can say, trust me, this works. But I guess, everyone's on their own path, and they'll find out if they choose to go down that road. And if not, then, I'm not going to argue about it. They don't believe what they want.
There does seem to be a pivotal moment and I've been around a lot of skeptics, Tony and Rob, I'm sure you can attest this, when they do witness our equipment in action. And there does seem to be, for some of the skeptics that become open to the idea, there is that aha moment when they're in front of the device, when they're actually witnessing the ITC happen in front of their face, and they see it with their own eyes, they hear it with their own ears. And when they hear their name being called, maybe in the voice of a loved one, whether it is the loved one or not is besides the point. But when the voice comes through that sounds like a loved one that may have passed, and they say their name, you see that that moment of transition where they go, oh my gosh, there is something to this. They've experienced it firsthand. And so much of that is important, because when you explain this to someone over the phone, it's easy for someone to dismiss this as, oh, they're just crazy or hallucinating, or there's a million other reasons for that. But then when you witness it in person, that's when that experience becomes real. And that's when a lot of skeptics go, okay, you know what, I have more questions, but tell me more about this.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely correct. And, there's nothing wrong with being skeptical. In fact, you need that, or, as us as investigators, we'd be posting every piece of dust that went by the lens.
Yeah.
So you have to be skeptical with everything that you catch and look at. But you also have to be open-minded. The paranormal does not follow any rules or laws, not time, not the ability to travel, nothing. It doesn't follow the rules here. Yeah. So you have to be open-minded enough to look at it and say, okay, could this be the case, or could this? And if you're not, then there's no point in you investigating. Yeah. But being skeptical, you need that, because otherwise, you can't just take anything that comes across and go, oh, that's paranormal. That's even worse for the field than. So skepticism is something that is needed in any investigator.
Well,
no, go ahead, Josh.
I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So here's an ironic thing. So when I first met Josh for the very first time, it was during an investigation. He was Mr. ITC ghost box person, and he brings in all these ghost boxes, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I got it. I'm into ghost boxes." I was like, "Dude, so you sit there and listen to broken radios?" And
right.
Thanks, and I would just bash them all the time, because I've been investigating, for many years, and then here comes this guy, and I always heard about ghost boxes, but I'm just like, they're broken. They're broken radios, Even the Frank's box, I got to see one in person. I'm like, oh my god, turn that noisy thing off,
But I love that term, and I hear skeptics use that a lot. Broken radio. A, it's not broken, and B, it's not radio.
Right. But so
very well stated.
That's where I came, and this was back in how long ago?
2014, 2015.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So, and then I started. You know what? I have Andy's box. Let me play around with it, because I was using Echovox, and Echovox I was getting amazing results. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and use this ghost box thing. And I started listening to it, and I was like, God, this is so bad. This is so bad. And then I had the aha moment. And then I was like, holy crap. I'm getting, my name called. I'm getting this called. Everything started happening. And then, then that was it for me.
Right. And, I was the same way. 11 and a half years ago, I didn't believe any of this. I had to have the personal experience. But the thing about spirit boxes is that you may turn it on, use it for an hour, and get nothing. It takes time. It takes doing it at the same time every week or every night or however often you do it. It takes a pattern. It takes repetition of that pattern to get them to know you're going to turn it on and have them come speak. But is it going to happen immediately? No. The first couple I used didn't do anything. I'm like, but after a while, it grew, and it kept growing and kept growing.
And that's what I tell people. You have to build a bond with your radio. Is basically what happens. It has to get a feel for your energy. You have to get a feel for its energy. And once those two come together, it's like, oh my God, what the hell? It's like you open up the floodgates.
That's when you get the pancake eyes, like,
yeah,
just happened.
Well, and you notice that over time. I want to credit one of all of our mutual friends, Tim Woolworth, who
great guy,
really brought about the theory of the contact field with the ghost box, and how the more you use it, you expand. As Rob said, you bond with the box, but as Tim describes, is your contact field expands, and then the communication not only becomes stronger but cleaner and clearer, despite the technology you're using, despite the radio. You can improve your experience on any device based on expanding your contact field. So like anything in life, it's practice, it's diligence, it's perseverance, it's, stay diligent with your practice. And like you said, Tony, your routine, and you will have success.
Right. Absolutely. You know what? And then I get people that always say to me, well, how do you know you're talking to spirits? Well, the fact of the matter is I don't. It could be spirits,
Right.
could be extraterrestrials,
Yeah, we don't
multidimensional
know.
creatures.
We don't
I
know.
mean, if you look at anyone who's had a story or an account of speaking with extraterrestrials, they're like, well, they were speaking to me, but the mouth wasn't moving, but yet I could hear them and we could communicate. Well, similar process in my theory, exactly how entities who are just pure energy are doing it. But, do we know every time who we're talking to? No, we don't. We don't know if it's, we don't know. We guess every
Right.
time we communicate.
Right.
But
That's right.
I think once you start working with DRV more and more, it almost seems like it's more of an extraterrestrial type of communication, just because of the way that it's transmitted, the different sounds that you get coming through. It's like, what the hell was that? It sounded more of, there's a weird, um, it's almost like
Hum or
a
vibration or
vibration coming
echo,
Yeah.
through.
or
Yeah,
we have taken parabolic mics and set them up. We used to set them up overnight in the hospital, leave, come back the next day, 12, 15 hours later, shut them down, grab the recordings, and then go through them. And some of
Right.
the noises in there, there's times we won't even look for the speech, but we'll look for those strange anomaly noises and
Right.
try to determine what is that? Where's that coming from? But you're absolutely right. You do get those ones where you're hearing what sounds like different generators going off, or even devices we're not even aware what they might be, because
right.
they're producing these sort of space age sounding sounds. So yeah,
Right.
that happens.
And it's because a lot of times, like on my Saturday show, I'm doing reverse box sessions, and I'm getting these weird transmission sounds. I'm getting Morse code. I'm getting
Yeah.
all of these things that don't come through over a radio frequency. They just
Right.
don't.
Right.
That's so true. That is so true. And the more you experiment with it, the more you pick up on these things. And that is how the field will get moved forward. But what I always tell everybody is it's not going to happen by one person. It's going to take every one of us to combine what we've gathered, what we know. I mean, even if you take a look at what other investigators have captured, and I don't care what location it's at, but things like an EVP will probably be anywhere from one word to maybe four, and then it's gonna die. Those consistencies go across. I don't care where you're at, what country, whatever. There are consistencies, and only through being able to match up those consistencies across multiple people investigating will we be able to start to maybe put some pieces together to paint a wider picture. And when people hide evidence and, I'm not sure, I'm not telling you where that, why not? I mean, it's not like somebody's going to go say it was theirs, or, well, I guess some people do that, but the good ones don't. But only through that discussion and sharing is how we're going to paint a picture of maybe what's happening with all this.
Yeah. But and that's the thing. I mean, we try to get everybody to share information, right? I mean, as much as that we can. But I think the bad thing about everything is there's so many egos involved that they just don't want to do it. And that's why we're trying to, we use this medium, like with our shows, to try to bring the ITC community together. And it's sad because there's so many people out there just that don't want to do it because of egos. And we're like, you know what? We're all at the same level field. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to, bring this work together. But a lot of people just don't want to do that. And, and it's sad.
It is sad, and egos can play a real problem. But the fact of the matter is you're right. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. It would be more beneficial to do it together rather than apart, or at least share what was captured. And there's no experts in any of this.
Nope.
So having an ego attached to a subject matter where there is no one anywhere who's an expert, you can't have an ego attached to something that doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
there's no point.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no black and white, clearly line defines of what we're dealing with. So how can you be an expert in something we can't define, that we
Yeah.
don't understand? I
Exactly.
mean, so the logic won't even apply in this situation. So yeah,
Right.
now there are experts that come from their respective fields and try and bring their knowledge to ITC, which is very
Sure.
respectable. But we all wind up smacking our heads on the same brick wall and just going, okay,
Exactly.
we're moving that brick wall, and that
Right.
healthy skepticism that you talked about keeps us asking questions, and that the passion and desire to say, well, I can clean this up, or I can design something to get one more word, or maybe create the possibility for one more word to come through. Again, we don't have full control over it, but
Right.
maybe there's something we can do. So that healthy skepticism keeps us pushing that brick wall forward. No, but we
Yeah.
all
Right.
wind up running headfirst and hitting the same brick wall. And we just got to keep moving it forward, though.
Yeah. That's the most important. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like some people are like, well, DRV, there's isn't real. The only true
Oh,
ghost
yes,
box,
it is.
the only true ITC communication is through scanning radio through through AM frequency, FM frequency, or some other frequency. No, that's not true, because
Right.
EVP is actually ITC.
Yes.
Anytime you use any device, that's what you're doing. It's ITC communication.
Correct. Anytime a
Right.
third party device that you
Right.
can't manipulate. And then people ask, well, does that mean a Ouija board is technically, well,
Yeah,
technically,
technically,
yes,
yes.
it is. The only difference, and then the question they always ask me, well, is a Ouija board more dangerous? Well, anytime you use anything to communicate with the paranormal, you're opening that door. And once it's open,
Right.
it's open. Are any of them more dangerous than the other? The only thing that differentiates a Ouija board from a spirit box, a digital recorder, is that the digital recorder is running on its own energy. The spirit box is running on its own energy independently from you. The Ouija board is using your energy, and then so is any entity trying to communicate with you through it. So that's the only difference, is that it's
Right.
you that's part of the manipulation of
Right.
that communication process.
But
Well, in that,
there's also a caveat to that. Um, Also, the energy that you're using is the intent. So if you have
yeah,
ill intent,
well
you're
stated.
gonna get you're gonna
Yeah.
get some
Absolutely.
you're gonna bring in some negative
Yeah.
energy. So you always have to be open minded and with good intention.
Yeah, I agree. Completely
Yeah.
agree.
Well stated. Very well stated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, this has been amazing. Yeah, we're gonna be opening up some things here. We're working on a website. We're gonna be um, looking for other people's input on the website. We're gonna probably have some live experiments happening
Cool.
going through the website. So there's a lot of fun things coming. So I've always said, if you guys want to participate in that, I'm building up
Yeah.
a kind of like a user base. So all you have to do is send me your your email address. I'll put you on the list.
Awesome.
So
I think
so
you
if you,
assigned me to email duties, so I think that's usually my role or my responsibility.
yeah.
I'll
So
take care of that.
and yeah, we Carl, well said. So Carl said a group Zoom, and that's basically what I talked about possibly doing, is doing a group Zoom meeting and doing some sessions on a group
Yeah.
Zoom, and then we could have it recorded. And if
Right.
anybody wants to refer to that and find the evidence that we collected on that, it's going to be shared.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. That's
um,
awesome, Rob.
yeah, I have a professional Zoom subscription ready to go. So all the tools that we're going to be using, I'm going to implement all of those tools, and we're going to start sharing that. And there's going to be no cost to anybody out there. This is just going to be a share to the community.
That's cool. That's cool.
Awesome.
Love it.
So yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I know, Tony. So does anybody have any questions out there that have that what people would like to ask Tony, myself, Josh, whoever? Um,
Ooh, a Q&A. I can't see the chat because I'm on an iPad, so I can't see anything.
So Nora
You'll have
was
to let us know.
was telling us, got to tell you something. In 2018, I was at the Salvation Army, where they were closing the store for good, and whatever was left, they were giving away. I looked on the shelf, and there was a tube of hand sanitizer. Sorry, it's just kind of long. Um,
Hand
I never,
sanitizer?
yeah, I was never fond of using it, so I wasn't going to use it. And then I heard a voice say to grab what you needed. So I listened. Then the pandemic started. Oh, and then it was wonderful. Whoever told me that. So basically, a spirit told her to grab some sanitizer.
Oh,
This was before in 2018, and something told her to
oh,
grab it because she's going to need it. And then the pandemic happened, and then at that time you couldn't find any hand sanitizer, so
Right.
she found that it was useful. So that was
Stuff like
kind of
that
wow.
happens all the time. And
yeah.
the more you get used to it happening, the more it occurs. So I don't doubt that one bit.
No,
That's an
that
incredible
was pretty
story.
awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
So Kevin, I mean, doing sessions over Zoom, you believe it or not, with everybody, because I do this
Yeah.
every weekend. It's not over Zoom. I do all of my sessions live, like we're doing now, and people will ask questions via the chat, and you'd be surprised. People don't even ask. Some people even got in the habit of not asking the question as part of an experiment, and they'll hear their questions being answered during the session. So it happens a lot more than you would think.
Yeah, even
Wow.
nicknames between family members that, not just yes or no or a number, but I mean, very intimate, specific information that's coming back, and people are going, "Oh my gosh, there's no way, that would have come through." And then the sessions where
Right.
Rob isn't running radio at all. We're using frequency and noise, and EVP will come through and answer those same questions. Very specific information.
That's awesome.
So, and
That's
this
awesome.
is like, here's a prime example. What Kanga's asking.
Oh,
What are your thoughts on us using the experiment, being able to hear the voices outside of the box as you did on your live stream? Do you think we become attuned to the sounds? Yeah, I think so. Um, with the different frequencies that we're using, um, we do get disembodied voices responding, and that's how the
Yeah.
whole thing with my experiments using
Right.
frequencies. I was playing different frequencies and I was hearing voices. I was playing. So the way that I got started was I was using the app. It's called Calm Radio, and they play different sounds. They have different nature sounds. So I would use that as a white noise generator, and I would listen to the wave sounds. Come to find out, the house that I was living in, there was three spirits there. There was a little girl, there was an older man, and an older lady. And all of a sudden, I started hearing a little girl's voice coming through the waves, playing in the sound. I was kind of ignoring her, thinking, "Oh, it's a fluke." And then all of a sudden there was a bump at my bed because she was asking me for help. There was a bump at the edge of my bed. I woke up and I see a little girl standing right there. And she's like,
Oh,
"You idiot. I'm trying to get your attention, but you're ignoring me." So that was
that's
kind of crazy.
that's awesome. That happens as well. But think about how difficult it would be if you are on the spiritual side and you can walk around with everybody and you try to communicate and they just
right.
don't know you're there. I mean, the human body does one thing. It keeps us locked into our 3D world. Our
Yeah.
vision only
Yeah.
sees 0.003% of the full
Right.
entire light
Mhm.
spectrum. Our hearing drops off at 20 hertz or 20 megahertz. And there's a heck of a lot of sound in the range
Right.
of. So the human body
Right.
actually closes us down from what probably is actually occurring around us. But
Yeah.
imagine what it would be like if you could hear everything those spirits do or where they're at. I mean, that would be overwhelming. I mean, if you turned around
Oh,
and there's
beyond,
six
yeah.
people standing behind you, so there's a reason for it.
Right.
But they do try to communicate, and the more you get involved in the paranormal, especially ITC, they come to communicate. They know we turn those boxes on every week, and they and wait until the second we flip the switch, and then boom, it's some nights it's just havoc with them, one after the other after the other.
Right.
Yeah, and it's case in point. I do my show every Saturday night at the same exact time, and it's always the same, and it's always consistent. So that consistency helps with that communication, whether it's
Right.
they're coming through, as a disembodied voice, because people hear disembodied voices all the time. They hear people mimicking my mic, using my voice,
Yep.
and saying things that I'm not saying, and it's coming over the broadcast. And I'm like, I never said that. And I listened back to it. They were like, you got to go back and listen. I go back and listen to the recording, and I was like, I never said that.
Right. Yep.
And when my voice is being used, my lips aren't moving. I'm like sitting there just like reading the text or something. And
But yet the audio was there.
and the audio was there. So yeah, it was just it's just amazing. And
It is.
this is what keeps us all going. And I think we're doing a lot of good work. And Tony, you're doing some amazing work. You and Ron are like,
You guys are always blowing our mind. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are doing some great stuff.
Thank you. You just got to keep pushing those boundaries and those limits, and you also got to be trying new things. People will sometimes be like, "Oh, I saw that. I don't that can't work." You got to test everything. If you don't, you can't make comment on it, and you got to try it. You just got to try it.
Right. That limiting idea of only certain things work, it always boggles my mind, because when you really stop and think about what we're witnessing and what we're experiencing, we're hearing voices coming out of the ether, through all sorts of devices. So why would 150 devices work through various recording techniques and radios and other ITC devices, but this one thing that everyone says wouldn't work won't? I bet you if you try anything for long enough, I bet you'll get a response out of it. I mean, it seems like that's what we're coming to. Everything seems to work or capture some type of evidence to some degree.
Well, and the biggest thing too is anything that's electronic, they can manipulate. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a baby monitor, a walkie-talkie, a cell phone. They can manipulate it. And then people are like, well, that's such new technology. They may not know how to operate it. Let me tell you, that's not the case. They do know. In fact, we haven't released White Hill yet, but we caught on EVP with Tim Dalton up on the second floor. He was talking about what devices they were going to use in that room, and this deep voice comes in and says "Ovulus," and we were like, "Oh my god!" And so we sent it to him, and we're like, "Tim, is this you or Dennis? Did either one of you say this?" And they're like, "That's not us. That wasn't us."
Right.
We haven't released that one yet, but it's really cool.
That's amazing. So, and Katie said that she has a gift. Now that you've been told you have a gift. Now, when somebody tells you have a gift, whether it's some type of psychic ability or anything like that, open yourself up to it and try to kind of see what that gift. I've known that for a long time. I never admitted that I had any gifts. I was always like, yeah, I know, I have some psychic abilities, but I never owned up to it. I knew I was sensitive, but I never really owned up to it until I started doing my show. And then all of a sudden, it was just one day. I guess I just really didn't. It might have been subconscious. I opened up that I was more in tune. I was getting more and more in tune with things that were happening. And then it was like everybody saw like just a light bulb go on. It was like there was a sudden shift in energy during my show. And I was like, wait, what? And then when that did happen, we started hearing disembodied voices like going like crazy. Like I was channeling these things to come through and allowing them to come through. And it was just like they were coming in like crazy. And everybody's like, where are those voices coming from? I was like, what voices? And they were like, Rob, listen. And then I started hearing them. I was like, holy crap, where's that coming from? And yeah, it was just crazy. So yeah, just never shy away from that. if you want to open yourself up to that, go ahead. But just just be careful and do it slow, and don't let anybody talk you say, oh yeah, you're just crazy. Don't let them say anything like that to you. Just go with it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with
Right.
that.
Yeah. Very well said.
But I think we're gonna probably start wrapping up. I know Josh has a couple of things going on. So, Tony, is there anything that you want to, maybe promote? Any projects you might be working on?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Yeah.
6 p.m. Pacific time on the KGRA network. You can see it on their Facebook, their YouTube. It's also on Entity Voices YouTube, Tony Rathman Facebook, Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence Facebook. Goes all over the place. But we do Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. We review evidence from investigators from all over the country. It's just really great stuff. So if you like watching evidence of the paranormal, everything from photographs to EVPs to apparitions to full-bodied apparitions, we have some great evidence on the show. So feel free to check that out. If you're looking for more information about stuff we've captured, our YouTube, Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, our website, entityvoices.com. And then, of course, we're on Twitch, Twitter, all the other ones, but it's usually the same stuff that's on one of those other two channels. So if you get a chance, go ahead and check those out.
Yeah. So, thank you, Tony, for joining
thank you,
us.
Tony.
Josh, thank you for, I know you've been busy. Thanks for coming on and joining us.
This is my show, man. This is
I
my
know.
podcast.
I know.
You're on my show.
I know.
Why would I miss my show? We have to talk, Rob. We have to talk.
Well, hopefully you'll be on Saturday also. So
yeah, hopefully I'll be on my Saturday show too.
So
I have one more thing to say. Anyone else who's interested in the paranormal, the Dark Zone's doing a live 3-day event at the Conjuring House. Sheree and I are on it for I think 30 minutes on Sunday. But if you know the real story behind The Conjuring, if you've seen the movie, you still might get a kick out of it. That's not exactly fact, but but tickets are available on the darkzone.indavomedia.com. I think it's like $20 for 3 days, 24-hour live streaming. So it's really cool. Might want to go check that out as well.
Yeah,
that's a good price for something like that. That's a good price.
Yeah,
it is. And they they got live cameras. I mean, they usually have 6 to 9. When we did the Queen Mary, I think we had a few more, but just because it was so big. But you can flip from camera to camera to the live show, back to being a personal investigator yourself, watching all these screens and seeing what's going on in each room. It's cool stuff.
That is really cool.
That is very cool. And the prices are so nice too. I mean,
that's really good. Yeah,
it is.
Well, Corey Price and his wife are great people. I know that they have the Conjuring House up for sale, but it's a great location.
It's an iconic, one of the most profound paranormal incidents in history occurred at that location. So that's hard to shake a stick at in any means.
Right. Well,
yeah, no, exactly. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and like I said, tune in Saturday at 11:45 Pacific time. I know that a lot of our UK viewers, Australian viewers, are here on the show tonight. Also, Carl, Kanga,
hey guys,
Julie, everybody, Kevin. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I know that Katie, there's a lot of you that Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and you guys all have a great night.
Thanks,
thank
Josh.
You, everyone.
Thanks, Rob. This was great.
No problem.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much.
We'll have you on again, hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be
Sounds
fun.
good.
Okay. See ya.